Hello, my name's Steve Mace from Solwise, and what I'm going to present here is a short video which describes the web setup configuration screens and how to do a basic link setup with the Zygma7 FeaturaN5 and FighterN5 outdoor bridge AP units. Now, both these units are 5 GHz outdoor units, which can operate in the band B and band C frequency bands. Key thing there is that they tick all the appropriate boxes for the IR 2006 Ofcom regulations for band B unlicensed use, and the IR 2007 Ofcom regulations for licensed band C use. Difference between the two units, well, the FeaturaN5 is a 300 meg unit, so that's a maximum of two 40 meg streams simultaneously, and the Fighter product is only got a single 20/40 meg wide channel, giving a theoretical maximum PHY data rate of 150 meg. Other difference between the two concerns the built-in antennas. Both these products have built-in panel antennas into the front of them. In the case of the FighterN5, that actually has a 14 dB directional antenna built into the front, and the FeaturaN5 has a 16 or a pair of 16 dB antennas built into the front, and both of them also have the options under flaps on the back with reverse SMA connectors for you to actually fit external antennas, for example Omnis, etc., if you want as well. Now let's just go through the setup of these two products. Now what I've done here is I've got a FeaturaN5 actually connected to the network here, and let's just get into its setup screen, which is 192.168.1.1. Enter. The default username and password for this product is admin and password. Enter. Okay, now we're on the unit. For anybody who's also seen my video on the 2.4 gig equivalent of these products, these screens obviously are very, very similar. Not a lot of difference between the 5 and the 2.4 until we actually come to some of the wireless options. So if we go, just quickly go through these screens. Under the System tab, this controls the bridging or router modes, so you can use it as a bridge, which is the default mode, which means the wireless and the LAN interfaces are connected, or you can select router, which means there's a NAT router operating between the wireless interface and the LAN interface. You've got two LAN ports on these products just to confuse things, so you can actually have an in port and an out port. You've got the usual things for setting the countries, so we'll just set this to United Kingdom while we're here and click on apply. And just wait a few seconds for it to reboot. Fortunately, the Zygma7 products, the outdoor CPU units, don't take too long to reboot, not like some of the products that I've played with in the past. So now we're set to United Kingdom. Let's go back and see what else we've got here. Under TCP settings, you can actually say whether you want it on static or whether you want it to DHCP to get an address. Normal time settings, radio settings, firewall settings. Obviously the firewall settings are applicable when it's in router mode. Now what I'm going to do while I'm on this screen is, because I'm later on going to connect two of these devices to the network, I'm just going to change the address of this one to 1.200 and click on apply. Don't want to save the password. Now obviously it's rebooting under that new address. Now notice it's automatically changed my URL to the new address. Admin password. Log in. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, now let's go straight across to the wireless tabs and see what we've got here. So under wireless, we've got the four basic modes. We've got AP, that's just normal AP for client connectivity. We've got wireless client, which is actually a CPE device, client CPE device, for example, for connecting site-to-site connectivity, etc. And the wireless client mode uses the SSID as the parameter to decide whether the two units link or not. We also have a bridge mode. Now in bridge mode, what actually happens is it doesn't use the SSID, it's a form of WDS. So the bridge is a WDS mode, which will then connect to an AP in WDS mode. And a key thing about WDS is it doesn't use the SSID to set the link criteria. It actually uses the opposing MAC address, or the MAC address of the opposite party, to decide whether it connects or not. We'll just change that back to AP mode at the moment. Usual thing here, just go through the other mode. Of course, it's got AP repeater, which is just APWDS. So that would obviously tie in with other APWDS units for repeating purposes, or the bridge mode operating in WDS for site-to-site connectivity purposes. Just have a look at this. Now, this is an interesting thing. Both these products actually have this concept of profiles. You've got 16 profiles. Each profile can actually have its own set of wireless settings. If I just click on the default profile, which is profile 1, all these parameters are individually selectable for each profile. And you can have up to 16 profiles, so each profile can have its own SSID, its own security settings, etc. Quite a useful little function, that. Because one of the things it means is that you could actually have multiple profiles running at the same time. So you could have multiple sets of SSIDs and multiple securities all running at the same time. Useful little thing, I think. Go back to basic settings again. Now you've got the normal 11N modes, whether you want it to be 11N or just plain 11A. Now this is an interesting thing, which is you need to pay attention to this, basically. Now, as I say, this is a Band B or Band C product. So what we have here are the Band B and Band C channels, which are selectable. The key thing is that there are different power outputs permitted for Band B and Band C. You'll also notice that the channels have gaps in them, and that's because both Band B and Band C for legal UK operation actually have gaps put into them intentionally by Ofcom for other services like road traffic control services, etc., etc., and satellite services. Now, the channels which are 100 to 140 inclusive, what they are the Band B channels. And if we select by default, let's say we'll select the default, which is, I believe, channel 100 Band B, you'll notice that when you select the internal antenna, the maximum power is limited to 14 dBm. And the reason for that is because the maximum permitted UK power at Band B is 30 dBm EIRP. So you take the internal antenna 16, you add the 14, you've got the 30. So it won't allow you to go any higher if you selected the UK mode of operation. Now, if we select one of the Band C channels, you notice, we'll just apply that and then you can see what actually happens. Go back to here. Right, the key thing now is the maximum power has been adjusted right up to 19. So what that means is you can take avail yourselves of the extra power permitted under the licensed Band C region. Now the maximum power for Band C is 36 dBm EIRP, so yet again what you've got here is a combination of the internal antenna and the power giving you that maximum limit, 36 dBm. Actually it's a little bit lower because this unit can only go up to 19 dBm anyway, so you're actually reaching 35 dBm. Now let's go back to that Band B setup. Right, so back on channel 100, which is maximum power 14 plus the 16, as I mentioned before. You've got data rate, selectable right up to MCS 15, which is a maximum PHY data rate actually of 270 meg, so it's not really 300 meg. And even then, the actual data throughput obviously is considerably slower than that. Now, what we're showing here is obviously the 300 meg product, the FeaturaN5. If you had the FighterN5, which is 150 meg, then obviously your choice of speeds here would be curtailed right down to MCS 7, which is 135 meg PHY rate. Each one you can run at using a 20 meg wide channel mode or a 40 meg wide channel mode. Let's just skip through these screens. Profile, we've already shown you that one. Advanced settings, all the usual garbage that nobody understands for controlling 11N. My advice is leave it alone unless you know what you're doing. The only thing that you might want to play with on this screen is this space in meters, which is a distance parameter that you can set up for when you're connecting between the units. It's a good idea to get this right. If you have it too high, then you can run into problems. If you have it too low, you can run into problems. So try and set it for the right sort of parameter. Usual Mac restrictions, setting up screens, and the WDS screens, which I'll come to later on. Under management, usual garbage, how do you want it to access, how do you want people to get in, etc. You can play around with the SNMP settings. And under tools, you've got the usual syslog, etc., etc. You can do site surveys, pings, data rate tests, antenna alignment, which is an interesting thing. You could actually give it the MAC address of the opposing thing, and it will actually give you signal strength depending upon alignment. And this is another thing. You can actually give it the destination IP of another unit, and what it will do is it will actually work out, give you an estimation of the speed between the units. So let's go back and set up a basic link so we can play around with some of these parameters to a greater extent. So what I'm going to do now is set up a basic link which is AP to client. So I'm going to make this unit the client unit. So what we're going to do is change that to client, and we're going to click on apply. Right. That's all we have to do, so I'm going to leave everything on to default, but set that in client mode. So that's all the settings we have to do on this unit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch off and disconnect this unit, and I'm going to reconnect it on the other side of the office to a notebook that's sat there twiddling its thumbs, and then I'm going to connect a new unit to the network, to this computer, and then we can go through configuring that new unit. So I'll be back in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Okay, that's now done. I've transferred the units across and got a new unit connected to this network. Just going to log in on the new unit, obviously on the default address 1.1. And obviously the first thing we need to do is go change this to United Kingdom, which we're going to do now. Click on apply. And we just wait for it to start up. Okay, let's go just check the wireless settings. So what we're going to do now is we're going to change this to band 100, which is the same unit being used by the other device, obviously. Click on that, click on apply, click OK. So now hopefully these 2 units are busy establishing a link between themselves. So if we go to status, and we click on connections, and we click on refresh a few times. Okay, so there we are. We can see it's connected to the client on the other side of the office. Word of note here, you do have to separate these by quite a lot if you're doing play around with testing, because you can get too much output power on these, and that really upsets their connectivity. So if you're doing in-office testing, don't just bang them 6 inches apart. Do separate them by several meters of air, otherwise they will overload each other, and you'll get poor connectivity, or even won't link at all. Now, things that we can do, now we've actually got a connection from end to end, and we'll just prove that. If I go to a new tab, I can bring up the setup screen of the other unit, go to 1.200, just log into it, password, enter. No, don't do that. So here we are, we're connected to the unit on the other side, and if I go to connections, there it is. There's the other unit showing its connection screen. And what I could even do if I drop into a DOS box is I'll just ping the notebook, which is on the other side of the link as well, 192.168.1.210. There we go, that's me just pinging the notebook, which is connected to the other unit. See, we've got some pretty good ping times out of this, so we've got quite a good connection here. Now, other things that we can do, now we've actually got a connection, is let's just run the speed test. So what I'll do is we'll just put in the opposing unit 192.168.1.200, and of course it's admin and password by default, and we'll just do a transmit test. So what this will do is give us an indication of the data throughput from this end to the remote client. Eventually, okay, so we've got a 24 meg data throughput. Obviously bearing in mind that these units are still too close together because they're in an office environment with maximum power set up. Also, this is obviously only set to 20 meg wide channels instead of 40 meg wide channels. So in real life you should be able to get considerably better than that when it's been set up correctly. And that basically shows how to do a AP to wireless client connection. Now, what I can do now is I'll show you the other type of connection, which I hinted at earlier on, which is the actual bridge connection. So we have to be careful here, because obviously if we start playing around with the remote unit, we're going to kill the link. So what I'll do is I shall just swap the two units back over again, and we'll go back and we'll start playing around with the wireless client, and this change it to bridge mode, which is, remember, the linking method that uses the MAC addresses rather than the SSID, and we'll just set them up that way, yet again just to show how easy it is to set up a link doing it that way. So I'll just swap the two units over. Back in a second. Okay, now we've got the 1.200 unit connected to the local network, and obviously you can see now that our connection to the 1.1 unit has now broken, because I've disconnected that. So we'll just log into the client unit, and what we're going to do now is we're going to change that wireless mode to bridge. So now it's now set in bridge. Click on apply. Now obviously in bridge mode what we have to do now is in the WDS setup, just here, we have to put the MAC address of the opposite unit into here. Now this is showing the local MAC address, which remember you'll need to write down because we need to put that into the opposing access point. I'll just put in the MAC address of the opposing access point, because I cheated and wrote it down earlier on. 0019:70:7D FC:CC. So that's the MAC address of what is going to be the opposite unit. Click on apply. Click on OK. So that's all we have to do. Now what I need to do is just swap these two units back again. So two shakes of a lamb's tail. So now the two units are swapped over and we're back on the access point again, and I've just logged into it. And hopefully now if I go to connections, yeah, there we are. We can see the bridge is connected on the other side. And if I dial file new tab and just type in the address of the other unit, 192.168.1.200, there we are. We're getting to the login screen of the opposing unit. Just type in password, log into that one, don't save it, and there we are. We have a connection between the two units, and we can flip between the two units. That's it. As you can see, nice and easy to set these units up. Lots of nice interesting functions and features on them. What more could I say? That's it. Hope you enjoy the product. Thank you very much.